The new Premier League season is just about upon us, and as the days count down, you, the viewer, are frantically searching for something, anything football related, in order to quell the boredom of pre-season. Well, don't you worry, because today I have just the video for you. Although, let's be honest, this isn't the first one of these you've watched this week, or even today, or even in the last hour, is it? It's Premier League predictions. Let's go and see just how many I can get wrong. But before we do, please don't forget to subscribe. We start this video with me looking to nail my last place prediction for the second year in a row. And in order to try and do that, I've gone for Leicester City. This is a side who famously won the whole thing in 2016. However, since their relegation, they have broken quite a number of the Premier League's rules. And now that they're back, are likely to suffer a points deduction, and that could be quite major. This is obviously a lovely starting point for predicting a last place team. However, it's also the manager that makes me believe that this side do not have what it takes to survive in the Premier League. Going from the flowing football of Enzo Maresca to that of Steve Cooper is not where you want to be when you're going to be in a relegation dogfight. And although he did succeed in keeping Nottingham Forest up in the season before his sacking, I do not believe he has got what it takes to transition a team full of flowing football into something that can carry out his methods. Joining Leicester City in the relegation zone this year, I have got Ipswich Town in 19th place, and this is quite an unfortunate prediction in my mind, given the fact that it's not very often that you get an underdog story in the Championship. And that last season was what Ipswich Town produced in order to get promoted. They've got a fantastic star manager in Kieran McKenna, someone who's going to be up and coming over the next few years and will no doubt take charge of a massive club within the Premier League very soon. However, this time around, given that they've come from League One directly to the Championship and then directly again to the Premier League, I don't think they've had quite long enough in order to build their squad up to be Premier League level. I'm more than willing to be totally surprised and have Ipswich completely outperform everyone's expectations, yet again for the second year running. However, I'm going to say while they put up a genuine fight, they do fall short and finish in 19th place. Looking at this year's Premier League table, I really don't think there is a third side who we can suggest are a guaranteed relegation candidate. And for that reason, I really do believe we could see a major shock this year, with one of the best sides on paper for securing unique players and managers potentially facing the drop once again, and that side is Brighton. Now, my reasoning behind this is the fact that their first choice goalkeeper is already injured for the start of the season, being Bart Verbruggen, and their new manager, after losing Roberto De Zerbi, is hailing from the Zweite Bundesliga with a side he has just managed to get newly promoted, that being St. Pauli. However, it's going to be a major adjustment that he is going to have to make if he's going to adapt to the Premier League. And I could see, if potentially the start of the season doesn't go as desired, some major unrest beginning to develop at Brighton, and potentially the makings of a rocky season that could end up with them in the Championship. Narrowly missing out on relegation, I have Southampton in 17th place. This is a side who have just won the Championship playoff final, and they are coming into the league as arguably one of the weakest squads on paper. However, it's their manager Russell Martin who gives me great confidence that they are going to just about stave off yet another season in the Championship. You need a fantastic man manager if you're going to survive relegation with a weak squad, and that's exactly what they have. In fact, arguably, in my opinion, one of the best man managers in the entire league, able to inspire results out of nowhere, even if he is a little bit tactically stubborn. I believe he's going to get just enough out of his players to have a successful season and remain once again within the Premier League, arguably establishing Southampton as a side who could be competing for survival for continuous years to come once again. Slightly more comfortable in 16th place, I have gone for Nottingham Forest, and really, there's not that much to say here. They've got a good squad for the Premier League, a decent manager in Nuno Espirito Santos, and they have an awful lot lot of money in order to improve the squad, even if they are breaking just a few rules in the process. Assuming they don't get another points deduction, which I'll admit is relatively likely for it to happen, then I do believe they will survive relatively comfortably in 16th place, securing another season of Premier League football at the City Ground. One look at the club I support will tell you that I have absolutely no desire to put a side like Brentford this high up the list. However, even if they do lose out on Ivan Toney, their prolific striker will be generating them a great fee in order to replace his goals, and I really don't feel like they're in any danger of relegation this season, particularly when they've got a manager as tactically astute as Thomas Frank, and even a specialist at this stage in keeping the side in the Premier League. He knows his team, they know him, and they will replace the goals that Ivan Toney was producing. Even going off of last season where he was missing for the vast majority of the year, they did just about fine, and now they're going to have extra money to keep themselves afloat. Yeah, they won't be going down this year. A prediction based entirely upon potential ambition is what I've got coming into 14th place, and that is Fulham. They are about to make, or at least allegedly about to make, an extremely exciting signing, that being the youngster from Arsenal, Emile Smith-Rowe. If this is the kind of signing that Fulham are intending upon making in order to drive themselves forward, then that is an extremely optimistic outlook for the club. While this year I have them relatively safe from relegation in 14th place, possibly looking up towards the European positions, I really do think that if this is the kind of thing that the Fulham owners are looking towards, then they really could be on an upwards trajectory towards those European places in years to come. One place ahead of his old club is going to be Iraola's West Ham United. Now, this season marks their first in a very, very long time, not under the tutelage of former manager David Moyes. And for that reason, I'm going to suggest that West Ham do need time to adapt to the new tactics of their manager and perhaps will not reach their full potential this year. They'll be in and around the European places, but not quite enough to break into the top half or qualify for continental competitions. Just missing out on a crack at top half will be Everton, even if this is a marked improvement on their previous seasons. I don't feel as though Sean Dyche's football is really all that suited to a qualification run at those European positions, even if it has happened before. However, I do feel like they've got the players to really give this a good go. Once again, they will be in with a shout of qualification, but I do expect them to just fall 3 places short of that coveted position in the UEFA Conference League. If anyone had made this prediction last season, they would have been seen as being extremely controversial, even if they would have been very much close to spot on. And that is that I have Chelsea finishing in that 10th position, doing just enough to be in the top half. However, this is not something that's going to excite the Chelsea fans altogether. To put it simply, I do believe that Enzo Maresca will be out of the job by December at the latest, and possibly isn't good enough to be making the jump up from the Championship to one of the top 6 of the Premier League. For that reason, I don't think they'll have long enough to recover, and even with, of course, a relatively decent squad, even if they've paid quite an amount for them, I feel like they're going to fall short of their ambitions of qualifying for this year's Champions League. A marked drop-off from last year is a side that I've been very keen to praise on this channel in the past, that being Aston Villa. And the main reason for their drop-off, in my opinion, is going to be the fact that they are, of course, playing that coveted UEFA Champions League this year. And I do feel like, and rightly so, this is going to detract from their attention towards the Premier League. They'll still have a decent, respectable finish in 9th, and I feel like they'll do enough to make it to at least the playoffs in the knockout stages of said Champions League, particularly with their knockout specialist of a manager, Unai Emery, perhaps even making it relatively far in either the Carabao or the FA Cups this year. Although I do feel like their squad depth is going to be a slight issue when it comes to the Premier League, and they will slip back down perhaps even as far as 9th place this year. Really getting towards the business end of the table now, and in 8th place I am going for Newcastle United with their newly fully committed manager in Eddie Howe. To put it simply once again, I believe that their squad is more than capable of challenging, of course, at the top end of the Premier League. However, there are sides above them who just have slightly too much more pedigree in order for me to realistically expect Newcastle to perform at the level required for them to qualify for Champions League once again. An 8th place finish would be a fantastic result for this team, particularly if they can go far in either the league or FA Cup. A trophy should be the one thing on every Newcastle fan's mind at the minute, given the long trophy drought that's facing a club with such an upward trajectory. Okay, here's a fun one. A side with absolutely no expectations always has the potential to surprise quite a number of people, and for that reason I'm going for Wolverhampton Wanderers to reach as high as 7th place in the table. This might be a surprise given how low I've put the likes of Newcastle and Aston Villa. However, I really do feel like their young core is going to do well enough to develop. Players like Hwang Hee-chan or Pedro Neto really are going to be able to step up to the mark, and we saw on numerous occasions last year how well Wolves can perform on their day. If they can do this slightly more consistently, then I really do feel as though a 7th place finish, or at least in or around this position, is not completely out of the question. It could be a promising season for the Midlands side. The side in 6th place, Crystal Palace, are perhaps the ones that I am most excited to watch this year. Oliver Glasner has acquired his top target for the club in Daichi Kamada, and his style of football was fantastic at Eintracht Frankfurt, notably winning the side the Europa League final. I really do feel like he is going to finally be the manager to propel the club, who've since languished in the bottom half of the table, really upwards towards a European push. This could be the year where they finally manage to make that break into the top 6 and qualify for the UEFA Europa League. In 5th place, I'm going for Manchester United. I do feel like they will fall just short of the guaranteed UEFA Champions League positions. However, with the new coefficient place coming into play, they could very well be participating in next year's UEFA Champions League competition. Their side is just shy, in my opinion, of breaking into that top 4. However, I believe a 5th place finish to be completely respectable for the current FA Cup champions. Erik ten Hag will be up against, of course, his new Dutch rival in Arne Slot at the rival club Liverpool. However, I do believe he has now made a statement in the Premier League by securing his future at Manchester United, and will be able to really take the side forward going into this season. It always seems to be about the future with Spurs, as a side who routinely fail to win trophies. However, I do feel like this year they will return to the Champions League, and with their core of young players such as Archie Gray, who have been signed this summer, I think they are on a genuine upward trajectory, and someday soon they will be able to challenge for the Premier League title. However, that's not going to be this year, and I do think they will have to settle, at least in the league, for Champions League football. Whether or not they can compete for either the Carabao or FA Cup, however, remains to be seen, or even a place in the final of this year's UEFA Europa League. Perhaps a trophy could finally be on the cards for the repeating bottlers. Of course, any of the top 3 or arguably top 4 sides could well compete for the title. However, I really don't think I could do myself justice by positioning the new manager Arne Slot's Liverpool any higher than 3rd, purely because we don't know for certain how he's going to adapt from the Eredivisie to the Premier League. His side is obviously good enough to compete for the title, as it's done numerous times under Jurgen Klopp. However, I feel like this year is going to be a sense of adaptation within this Liverpool squad, and there will come a time when they can once again compete for the Premier League, as Jurgen Klopp himself said upon his departure from the Merseyside club. However, this year they will be comfortably within the Champions League positions, a competition in which they are now back this year. However, just fall short of being able to compete with the 2 sides who've gone toe-to-toe in recent years. As has proven to be the way in the past few seasons, it is so difficult to split between the top two. However, this year I am going to say that the side just falling short of the title is going to be Arsenal. Now, last year I predicted them to finish first, and they came within just a single point of doing so, and also a little bit of goal difference. However, I think this year it's really pointless predicting anyone bar, of course, the first place team to do so, considering their consistency. Arsenal will be a formidable challenger and very well could take the title. However, I'm being quite cautious about that statement once again and predicting them to just fall short and finish in second place. Their time will surely eventually come. It's just going to be a matter of waiting until the year the first place side slip up. Could that be this year? Possibly. However, I'm predicting Arsenal in second place. I really don't think there's much that hasn't been said about Manchester City already that needs to be said here. They're essentially a well-oiled machine, and while being manned by Pep Guardiola, they are essentially an almost unstoppable force within the Premier League, or at least that is what it must feel like for the sides who currently compete with them. They have Erling Haaland as their striker, perhaps will be finally without Kevin De Bruyne. However, now with Phil Foden looking to take the reins at that cam position, it looks as though it's going to be a seamless transition for the new player into the side. Really, I don't see anyone stopping the super team that Man City have become, and they will surely challenge for every competition in which they are this season. So what do you think? Who is going to win this year's Premier League title? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, then please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it is really greatly appreciated. And with that being said, I will see you next time for yet another video. See you next time.